Hello, my name's Jackie Maxwell. I'm Artistic Director of the Shaw Festival, and I'd like to invite you to the CAVORT 2012 conference here at the Shaw Festival in Niagara-on-the-Lake. The mandate of the Shaw Festival is a very particular one. I don't think there's any other theatre in the world that has it, because we do the plays of George Bernard Shaw and his contemporaries. Now, thank goodness, George Bernard Shaw lived a very long time, which means that we have about 90 years worth of theatre history at our disposal. Plays by Shaw, as I say, his contemporaries, Ibsen, Chekhov, Noel Coward, the whole gamut, going from 1856 to 1950. Also, however, and more recently we added to that, contemporary plays about the era. So you can come here and see a really interesting mixture of plays of the time and plays about that time. And let's remember what that time was. We're talking about a time when the world changed. In fact, we like to often say that our plays that we show are about the beginning of the modern world. We have here what we call our ensemble. This is in fact the jewel in our crown, an extraordinary acting company, many of the actors have been in the company for almost 20 years. Some are new each year, but there is a core of people who return, which means that their expertise, their knowledge of the period, their ability to wrap their heads and mouths around sometimes very complex texts really gets them ahead of the game. You can go into rehearsal with these actors, and you're talking about actors who know each other and trust each other. The work, therefore, is faster, more accessible, and I think you see the result on the stages. The Shaw Festival started in 1962. A local lawyer, amateur playwright, Brian Doherty, decided that he wanted to put on some Shaw. He was a great Shaw fan. And indeed, in the local courthouse, the theatre, in those days, no air conditioning, nothing at all, just Don Juan in Hell, which is part of Man and Superman, and Candida. 2 plays for 5 weeks. Not at all what we have now. Now we have 10 to 12 plays over an entire summer, going from April to October. So you can see over the last almost 50 years, things have grown. But always at the core of it is the belief in the actors on the stage, beautiful production values, and these great texts. We have 4 theatre spaces, very, very different, which allows us, of course, allows me as the artistic director, the freedom to program in a very different way for each space. Our flagship theatre, which opened in 1973, is the Festival Theatre. It's an 869-seat theatre, proscenium arch, beautiful, very intimate, in fact, for such a large theatre, but it's there, obviously, where we do our major Shaws and other large pieces. My personal favorite space, if I had to admit it, is actually the Courthouse Theatre. It's an almost 300-seat theatre, very intimate, and it's a thrust theatre, which means that you sit 3-sided all around. And sometimes, in fact, you realize that you can be very, very close to the action. And at times, therefore, you can almost be drawn in a way that sometimes you can't in a larger space. Our third space is the Royal George. The Royal George is a beautiful jewel box of a theatre. It's on the main street also, and it was originally a music hall and has, again, a wonderful feel of that time. And it's there that we do some of our more populous pieces. As I speak to you, we are opening, for example, the piece Harvey there this year. We also do Shaws, we do musicals there. It's a very, very popular space. Very recently, in our 2009 season, we opened our 4th space, and this is a really small space, 120, 150 seat space in our rehearsal studio called the Studio Theatre. And it's really where we can do some of our more ambitious work, poking us out of the mandate. An interesting part of our programming that I've been developing called Contemporary Shavians, which means looking at current contemporary writers who are still holding up the banner of provocative, questioning, and challenging work after George Bernard Shaw himself. So there you are. We're waiting for you. Come on down and visit. It's a beautiful place, beautiful theatre, great wine. What else can I say? Come and visit in 2012.